What's up, family? I'm just here to have an authentic conversation. Get this video a big thumbs up. I hope I pour some type of value into you guys' lives, as always. And so we're going to talk about a recent appearance on Fox News with Mark Levin, also known as the Great One. A conservative radio host sparked a conversation about the 2024 election and the Democratic Party. The discussion led to a headline stating that Stephen A. Smith regrets backing Vice President Kamala Harris and is open to voting for the Republican Party, which Smith claims does not accurately portray his actions, even though he comments differently in speaking on behalf of possibly voting for the Democratic Party, or he would. Smith expressed regret in the current state of the Democratic Party and his leadership, specifically Vice President Kamala Harris, and has stated it on multiple occasions. And Smith mentioned that he has known Mark Levin for over 20 years and considered him a friend, but also stated that he would not blame Levin for the misleading headline. During a conversation, Mark Levin Smith was asked if he could see himself voting for Donald Trump and if he will run for president, if he were to run for president again. And Smith replied that it's possible, but Trump would have to prove a lot. So does this mean that Stephen A. Smith turned MAGA, or turned into a MAGA voter, or a supporter of Trump? With no further ado, family, let's check out what he had to say.
Some political talk, specifically my conversation on Fox News this weekend with the one and only Mark Levin. They call him the Great One, conservative radio host throughout the country. Plus, you can catch him on Patriot Radio, on Sirius XM, Channel 125. He's been a phenomenal host there for years. Nevertheless, I appeared on his show, Life, Liberty, and Levin, which airs on Fox News on Saturday nights and Sunday nights. And while I was there, I gave my thoughts on the 2024 election and expressed some regret about what has transpired with the Democrats and Vice President Kamala Harris. And I've said this on many, many occasions. I don't like what I'm seeing from the Democratic Party. I said it on Life, Liberty, and Levin to Mark Levin himself. I've said it to this audience on various occasions. I'm saying it again now. Nobody's backing up from it. Nevertheless, I have to tell you that, and I don't blame Mark Levin for this, but did you see the headline on Fox News? Did you see it? Did you see it? In case you didn't see it, put it up there for us, folks. Let them see it right there. Look at that headline right there. Stephen A. Smith regrets backing Vice President Harris, open to voting GOP, not interested in the fear-mongering. Before I go to the actual clip of what I literally said, so I can show you all myself, let me state for the record, I throw no fault in the direction of Mark Levin for the headlines. As a reporter, as a commentator and pundit throughout the years, there have been many, many times where I have said something and having no responsibility for the headlines whatsoever. The headlines didn't completely accurately portray what I had said. So if I've gone through that, I'm certainly not going to blame Mark Levin, nor would I ever accuse him of misrepresenting me. Just like I've been friends with Sean Hannity for over 20 years, that also applies to Mark Levin, who I've also known now pretty much 20 plus years. So he is a friend. He is somebody that I communicate with often. No, we do not agree on a lot of our politics, just as is the case for Sean Hannity. But I respect those guys, and I've known them for years, and they've always watched my back, always. Okay. And I always appreciate that, and I'm always going to do the same for them. So it's not about that. But it is important that you all know exactly what I said, because headlines like that turn to go viral. So without further ado, this is just a small clip of Mark Levin asking me the question that he asked, and I want you to listen to my answer. Here it is.
Stephen A. Smith, so could you see yourself seeing what you see now? And obviously Donald Trump can't run for president again, but if he could, under the current circumstances, could you see yourself voting for him?
Quite possibly. I'm not going to sit up there and dismiss that anymore. I think we're beyond that. He would have to prove a lot, Mark. And I'm not talking about policy now. For a second, allow me to say this. What concerned me about Donald Trump, and the reason I voted against him and voted for Kamala Harris, was because I felt that he would be divisive, that he would create chaos because he demands such a level of loyalty and fealty to him. And that would take priority over governing our nation. That was my concern. And so I'm looking for both sides to work across the aisle from one another. Having said that, when you see some of the things that he said, if he follows through on some of the things that he has said, it's not just about eradicating inflation, improving the economy, obviously controlling our borders. These are all things that I care about. Make no mistake about that. And I certainly would support him in that regard. But it can't be just about fealty to him and loyalty to him. It has to be about getting the job done on behalf of what's in the best interest of the American people, as opposed to yourself, and not engaging in the kind of juvenile tendencies, tweeting all the time and going after people who are really much irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. You do things like that and you show that you're the adult in the room. Yeah. I don't think anybody could dismiss Donald Trump at this particular moment in time, not just because of him, but because of what we've seen the Democrats do. That is what I said. Anywhere in that headline, did you hear me say, I regret voting for Kamala Harris? You did not hear me say that. But I understand.
You don't have to say something without indirectly making it obvious. You know how many times people say something without saying something? And it sounds like to me, this is why I don't like flip-flop people, I like to call them. Tell me who you are, make a stand, pick a side, and results will show. And by the content of your character, will show me who you are. The way you vote Democrat, but you are upset with the Democratic Party, but you still voted that way, but you still have the possibility of voting for the other party. When the biggest adult in the room was the individual that was tackling the issues hand on. The elephant in the room is Trump. Because in my opinion, and the way I'm looking at it is, he's the one that's transparent, being transparent with the American people while executing at the same time. And he's not even in office yet. So who is the biggest adult? The people you voted for or the person that you said you possibly would vote for? Let's continue.
How it's a fine line. Because I do have my trepidations and feelings of disgust when it comes to the Democratic Party, how they handled things leading up to the election, how they handled the year prior to the election with Joe Biden refusing to step away and going back on his word to be a transitional president. OK, I don't like the fact that, they got $1.5 billion and, next thing you know, we're looking for where the money went. I don't like the fact that people like Oprah Winfrey and others were paid before doing interviews with Kamala Harris. I don't like a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of it smells. But I think it's important to make this point. And this is directly aimed at conservative media. It may be because they've been vilified for years and they've found themselves to be at a distinct disadvantage when it comes to the leftists on the media side. I get that part. But it doesn't negate the fact that when it comes to conservative media, they won't hesitate to misrepresent your words a bit for a better pro-Trump, anti-Democrat headline, because indeed they like having prominent, influential voices come over to their way of thinking. To some of them, not all, not most, but to some of them, it's like, oh my goodness, there are a lot of folks out there, that do think like us, that do side with us.
So who are you?
Our mode of thinking. And we're not as alienated as you think.
What
and I think
side
there's
you
a
on?
lot of folks within conservative media that are prone to doing something like that. Just like you can look on the left, because the liberal media will misrepresent your words in a heartbeat to make you seem more extreme and to work very, very hard to tie you in with the Trump and the MAGA folks. We've seen that happen to me on both sides. So, I just felt the need to say that because it's important that people understand. I'm going to say it again. And I'm going to have it put up on the screen every time I'm on this show and I'm talking politics. I am an independent.
Lies.
I am not.
Lies. And this is why I'm substantiating my point. Liberals have been moving with this talking point so far ever since Trump got elected. Because it's just common sense, right? Trump and them just use common sense logic. The ones that's doing the fear mongering is the Democrats. So Smith emphasized that he's not interested in the fear mongering and wants to take a clear stance on issues rather than trying to play both sides. But you're playing both sides and you're straddling the fence. Here's why I say that. Because you're basically saying I didn't plan on voting for Kamala Harris. And you won't plan on voting for Kamala Harris in the future, but you don't plan on voting for Kamala Harris in the future, and you didn't plan on voting for Kamala Harris, but you voted against Trump. So I see it as you voted for Kamala Harris because you wanted to vote against Donald Trump. And Trump has made promises to address issues such as inflation, the economy, border control, but believes that these efforts should be driven by the desire to the American people rather than personal loyalty. So if you encompassing and you standing for the same thing Trump's standing for, and you're saying the same thing Trump is saying, what is the problem? So you criticizing Trump behavior, including his frequent tweeting and attacks on individuals who have been lying to the American people, putting on the front to the American people, and being typical politicians, because we know Trump is not part of the establishment. He's outside of the establishment. He's an outsider. A typical politician will say one thing and do another. Trump means what he says and does what he says and mean what he say and say what he means. So I don't understand where you support the eradicating inflation, lowering taxes, closing borders, and prioritizing national security, aligning with some of the president-elect Donald Trump views, but not necessarily his words or methods. So you don't like how he's saying it because he just outright saying it as a straight shooter. Because that's what I'm getting. Comment down below, family. Am I tripping here? He just don't like how Donald Trump says it or his method of approaching it, but he's saying it and he's agreeing with everything Donald Trump is saying. So you and your feelings, as in you one of them sassy guys. You one of those you one of them Care Bears type of Nick. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Let's get it.
I'm not a Democrat, so I ain't apologizing for anything anti-Dem that I may say. Nor am I a Republican? And I'm certainly not apologizing for that. I have things that I am conservative about, and I have things I am liberal about. I am a staunch conservative when it comes to my money. I'm a fiscal conservative. You damn right. I ain't apologizing to nobody. My man Brandon's in the studio. You got a problem with that, B? I don't have a problem. You got a problem with that? Betty, you got a problem with that? Yeah, you better not have a problem with it. I am a fiscal conservative. I can't.
It reminds me of the Democrats. They can do it, but no one else can do it. Believe what the Democrats say, but don't believe what they do. So he believes, oh, I can be conservative, but I also could be a liberal. So you're straddling the fence and playing both sides of the table, but you seem to agree with Donald Trump's policies, but not his approach, and are also criticized for not openly stating your conservative views. And now we're holding you accountable. And if you are a true independent, you won't even have to justify and clarify as much as you do. Continue to say what you stand on. You know what I'm saying? Because it would be evidently clear on your stance. But you voted Democrat and you continue to vote pro-Democrat. That's where the hypocrisy comes in. And that's why you're being criticized for your conservative views. Because to me, it looks like you're possibly straddling the fence due to your fear of alienating the audience and affecting your financial gain and your audience being predominantly liberal. So you may be playing both sides, Stephen A. Smith, to maintain a liberal image while secretly holding conservative views, possibly due to his contract with Disney, his desire to keep earning money without alienating his audience. So the criticism I'm coming at with you and holding you accountable and substantiating my point is you claim to be independent, but vote for one party, which is Democrat, specifically Democrats, and as it seems disrespectful to those who are truly independent. That's what I'm saying. Comment down below, family, if you agree or disagree with me and you follow on my drift.
Can't stand these damn high taxes in New York, New Jersey, and California.
Stay there.
Okay? So trust you me, anytime
Stay in
I can
them
get
blue
away
states.
with moving to another place and not having to pay them
Don't
damn
move.
taxes, I'm not going to hesitate. Let's get that out the way. But I'm very liberal when it comes to living and let living. It doesn't matter whether I approve or disapprove, whether I like or don't like. I believe in living and let living. That's how I roll. Gay rights, abortion rights, whatever the case may be, live your life. Live your life. You understand? You want to be transgender, go ahead and be transgender. You're a gay individual, go ahead, live your life. Now, when you try to say you're a guy and that you're transitioning into being a lady and you want to compete against women, now we got a problem, because I think that puts women at a distinct disadvantage. That's how I feel about it. That's me looking out for women. That's not me going up against somebody that's transgender. But I digress. I want to get back to my bigger point. And my bigger point is, once again, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the headline didn't accurately depict what I had said to Mark Levin. If I wanted to call out Vice President Kamala Harris like that, I would. I'm the guy that went at former President Barack Obama for talking down to black men, claiming it must be misogyny if you didn't vote for Kamala Harris.
You still voted that way. You still voted that way.
I didn't appreciate that. But that's what it is. I just want to make sure that we're clear. Nobody's backing up or apologizing for who I am and where I stand. And as I look at President-elect Donald Trump coming into office, let me be very, very clear about what I support when it comes to him. So we're not misconstruing anything. I support eradicating inflation. I support lowering taxes. I support closing our borders. I support prioritizing national security. Yes, I do. I'm not going to go with his words about Law and Order, but damn it, it's one of my favorite shows for a reason. I like it. I believe in Law and Order, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about that. So everything that Donald Trump has preached about, I'm not against, which is why if he acts right and doesn't engage in pettiness and don't put incompetence in cabinet positions and stuff like that, I'm going to support the president. I don't want him to fail. I want him to succeed as long as it means the country succeeds, not him.
So now you're worrying about the country, but you put your personal preferences on why you want him to conduct and basically approach it the way you like for him to approach it. So you want the country to succeed when Donald Trump has the best interest of the American people, and he wants the country to succeed and get back on track. And you support law and order, but then at the end of the day, you are for let them live and live how they may be, and live how they live. You can't. They do not go together, because at the end of the day, let them live and let them be and be liberal minded. Well, at the end of the day, you can't say, oh, let immigrants live and let them live and let they be and live who they are. But then there are illegal immigration coming into the country, jeopardizing public safety. But then at the end of the day, say you conservative to your money. It's the same way. You might as well say you corrupt you corrupt Stephen A. Smith, because now you got me fired up now. You got me fired up. You know why? Because you're like the Democrats. You like to say what you know is obvious and common sense, but then you still vote the way you do. That's like the Democrats still toting that they are for the working average American, working class average Joe American individual. But at the end of the day, they're doing things to basically hound and basically batter the average American Joe with inflation and continue to give money over to illegal immigrants. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at it like this. You support Donald Trump when it comes to being conservative to your money for financial gain. Even if that means straddling the fence and being a chameleon so you don't look bad on either sides, you're rather Not you'll rather act like you taking a stance, but you're really not taking a stance. But in reality, is you're really conservative because when it comes down to your money, just like the average working Joe American, they just want more money in their pockets and they don't want high inflation. They want to be able to afford their culturalistic life, or to afford their lifestyle aligned with their culturalistic views in which they will be able to afford, or they were able to afford before. So it's like the Democratic Party that will jeopardize the American people, public safety, and also jeopardize the American dream they taught about. But by not setting them up for success and not setting the country up for success by funding these proxy wars, jeopardizing the public safety of American tax-paying people, but also use their tax dollars to funnel it over to countries, but let people live and let them live the way they live. And I'm fine and I'm liberal in the way they live. But at the end of the day, screw the American people over. So say what the American people want, but not do what's in the best interest of the American people. And you're more so say what the American people are saying, but I don't necessarily vote the way that the American people are. I'm going to leave it there, family. Let me know how you guys feel. Let me know you guys' perspective and insight on this nonsense. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I poured some type of value into your life and also a different perspective, because we just here to have a conversation, baby. On that note, family, love you guys. Peace.